McWhorter Custom Rifles presents
Hey, James Eagleman here from Barbour Creek Long Range Shooting School. We're gonna have Alan's crew down here from McWhorter Rifles. They're getting ready to go ahead and start filming a TV show, Precision Hunting.
Well, it's May the 3rd and we're just now pulling up after a 2-hour drive here to Barbour Creek Shooting Academy. We're over here to see our good friends and partners, James Eagleman, a master instructor on long range shooting, and Mark Simpson. And we're going to take a level 1 and a level 2 long range shooting course. What's going on, Mr. James?
You guys made it.
You doing all right?
Yes, sir.
Sorry we're a little late.
They're gonna go ahead and show up tonight, and we'll have dinner for them at 6:30. I've got Felicia and Tony. They take care of our guys, and as they show up and our gals, they'll go ahead and get them in lodging and get them fed and hopefully get rid of these gnats. But other than that, good crew here. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna do a level 1, level 2 combination. So we're gonna kind of do a 3-day course, and then we're gonna go ahead and get started.
Camera, you guys gotta eat too.
Precision Hunting TV is brought to you by McWhorter Custom Rifles, Extreme Wildlife Adventures, Swarovski Optique, Yeti Coolers, and Barbour Creek Shooting Academy.
So we're gonna get up at have breakfast at 7:30 in the morning. We'll start class at 9. We'll stay in the classroom until about lunch at 12 o'clock, and then Tony and Felicia have lunch ready for them. And then after that, we're gonna be in the shoot house all afternoon shooting. And we're gonna teach them everything they need to know about long range hunting, long range shooting. All right, folks, we're gonna go and get started. What I always like to say before we start is, I know you guys have got some experience, but ask the questions. All right, that's why you're here. This is here for you, not for me. I've done this for 30 years. 26 years in the military as a trigger puller. I like to call myself a problem solver. I just have permanent solutions for the problems for the military. All right, so day 1, class will start at 9 o'clock. We'll stay in class again. We're gonna kind of go over basic shooting positions. We're gonna talk about bullet design, shot placement, terminal performance, everything you need to know about long range hunting. Bar none, all we're doing is giving you the ability to shoot long range. It doesn't mean you have to. But a lot of times when you're looking at that biggest 6x6 at 700 yards away across the valley, you just can't get to it. This is where this comes in. And again, bar none, if you're good at 800 yards, 5 and 6 become a chip shot. So that's what we're really trying to teach. We're gonna talk about what's important about a long range hunting system. We're gonna cover scopes, ammunition, factory to hand loads, and why we use one or the other. Ballistic rangefinders or ballistic programs. We'll talk about the rifle stock, the barrels, twist rate, dynamics, everything that we need to know about a long range hunting system. Some of you may already have a good long range hunting system, and some of you may not. And if you don't, at least you'll understand what to get or what you're looking for in a long range system. There's so much out there. First and foremost, let's talk about rifle scopes. The 2 major components for a long range rig is going to be rifle scopes and barrels. Everything else can be adjusted. There's all kinds of different actions and triggers and whatnot. Let's talk about a scope. Regardless what scope you have, the biggest thing to understand is making sure you have a minimum of a 30 millimeter tube. The diameter of the scope tube should be at least 30 millimeter. Now, I'm 54. When I was growing up, we were all running 1-inch tubes. Then 1-inch tubes are like your old-fashioned. You had the 3x9 swirls. You had the old Leopold Variex 1s, 2s, and 3s. You had the old Redfield Accutrax and all those. The problem with the 1-inch tube is everybody thinks tube diameter is about light intake. That's a small portion. It's more about how much travel does this erector tube have. When you dial your turret, you're putting tension against that erector tube, which allows you to shoot at long range. So it's how many minutes of travel your scope has. Hence, the larger the diameter of the tube, more travel. The old-fashioned scopes, like the 1-inch tubes, barely had 40 to 60 minutes in them. So let me kind of throw that out there. If you look at that top page, and if you go down in the far left column, find 1,000 yards, and to the left of it, the next column over, it says you need 28 minutes to go to 1,000 yards, right? So that means I gotta go on my turret, and I gotta dial 28 minutes to hit that target, or that animal. On average, when you throw a new scope on your rifle, it takes almost 30 minutes just to get it zeroed. Well, if I'm running a 40-minute of angle scope, I don't have enough to shoot 1,000 yards. So by having a larger diameter tube, I've got about 100 minutes of elevation in it. So a lot of the Swarovskis, the Night Force, the Kales, and a lot of those scopes, they're running 190 to 100 to 120 minutes of elevation. Light intake is a small portion of tube diameter. It's more about travel, all right? So that's real important. Minimum 30 millimeter tube for long range. If you go to the 34s and 35s, you're into the Schmittenbenders, the ATAC-Rs, the big tactical ones. Yes, we use them in the military on the 338 Lapuas, 375 Chi-Techs, and the 50 cals. They're also 3 and 4 pound scopes, all right? They're getting to the point where they're 36 ounces, 34 ounces, 38 ounces, depends on the maker. We don't need that for hunting. Okay, you're way overboard. And then we're gonna go out and shoot. We use full-size animals out there, full-size animal targets that have the vitals that pop when you hit them, because we really want people to learn where to shoot on long-range animals.
This segment of Precision Hunting TV is brought to you by Sport Ear by Axel Hearing Performance.
We're going to talk about spin drift. We're going to talk a little bit about Coriolis, aerodynamic jump. I know I'm throwing all these things out there, but basically everything that affects the bullet at long range, you know, station pressure, temperature, altitude, angle, everything that affects the bullet while it's traveling down range to get to the target. So. All right, so what I'd like you to do is go to the 300 yard. Again, that's the first set of steel on the right, and the black pole holding it up says 300 yards. So find a 300 yard target. So what I'd like everybody to do is open your bolt up and drop a bullet in your chamber and close your bolt. Shooter 1 first, I want you to go ahead and get lined up on target 1 at 300. Make sure you're focused and you got good parallax. All I'm gonna do at this point is watch your trigger squeeze and follow through. Communication between shooter and gunner. The shooter, when they're about to shoot, you will just touch the trigger without squeezing it and you'll say ready. The spotter's gonna tell you to send it. So within 3 to 5 seconds of him saying send it, you need to slowly squeeze and hold the trigger to the rear. So as soon as we get to the range after lunch, we'll spend about 4 or 5 hours shooting. We're gonna start on the benches to teach proper shooting technique. You know, we talk about trigger squeeze, follow through, having that free recoil. All right, and then when you're ready, just touch the trigger, give him a ready, he'll tell you to send it, and I want you to hold the trigger for a full second after the shot.
Left side of the dot.
Okay.
Ready?
Send it. Good shot.
Okay. Good shot, but you let go. You did. All right, but you caught yourself. All right, shooter 2, let's do the same thing. The closest targets we'll shoot at is 300 yards. We'll shoot 300, 400, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 1,000 yards. And in between there, we got full-size animal targets, everything from a full-size elk, bear, mule deer. We've got a full-size ram, coyote, and pig. And again, they're all high shoulder shots, what we call straight up the leg center in the body, and that really allows clients to get that good hydrostatic shock when hitting an animal at long range that makes them fall on their tracks, and that's what we're looking for. Half a minute, the wind's coming from the left.
Send it.
Bullseye, bottom of the bullseye.
Good shot.
There you go. Did you see your hit?
Yep.
Did you see your hit? Awesome, awesome, okay. Shooter 2, try to concentrate. So shooter 2, once you pull the trigger, the last thing I want you to look at is where does your barrel end up, if it's left or right. The spotters are gonna learn to read the wind. I'm gonna go over with them on angle of mirage, heat waves coming off the ground. And we're gonna cover a few things that most people don't know about using the angle of the rain for wind speed. So they learn a lot. They'll cover a lot of things about long range hunting and shooting that most people don't know. And here's the bottom line. They're gonna shoot to 1,000 yards, but most people will leave here pretty comfortable being able to take an animal between 500 and 800 yards in a level 1. Beautiful. Level 2, when we get out to the range, we're gonna be shooting from the prone. We're gonna be shooting from a tripod.
Good shot. Dead again.
We're going to be shooting from a shoot house that is basically simulating hunting out of a hunting blind using sticks, tripod, bipod, like I said, and then rear bags. And then we're going to use wind meters, and again, we're going to read the wind mirage using our spotting scopes. And then other than that, they're going to try to do everything on their own in day 2, level 2. So the hardest part about using a tripod, as you can see, it's very unlevel, so you're going to have to mess with your legs to get your gun level. Day 2 and day 3 at the range, and we're going to be outside shooting underneath the balcony. We're going to be shooting at about 1,188 yards. We're going to shoot prone, bipod, tripod, kneeling, seated, and then they're going to read mirage, use the wind meters, and we're going to kind of help them along with the first couple days. Beautiful, right in the white. But on the last day, they're on their own, just like they're on a hunt.
Precision Hunting TV is brought to you by Hoffpower Auto and Outdoor Stores, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, Sport Ear by Axel Hearing Performance, and Surge Pro by BioFac Crop Care.
When reading mirage, never ever look at the animal's feet or never look at the bottom of the target. The mirage starts at ground level. If you're reading mirage at the target or at ground level, it will appear to be twice as fast as it really is because that's where it starts. It's very difficult to read. That bullet we talked about yesterday is traveling at max ordnance. The highest it goes in that parabolic curve is about 8 feet off the ground at 1,000 yards. We always read mirage at max ord. So I will put, if this was my spotting scope, I put the target at the bottom third, and I always read mirage at about 8 feet above the target. You'll pick up the angle a lot better. We're going to talk about the angle. So we discussed angle yesterday, how we're seeing and not seeing it. Always put the target at the bottom of it and read mirage 8 feet above the target. Okay, James here from Barbour Creek Long Range Shooting and Hunting School. We're gonna go over why we hold for wind instead of dialing the wind. And one thing that's important to understand is when you're shooting at an animal at longer ranges, you're gonna be zoomed in on the target anywhere from a 10 to 20 power magnification on your scope, which does what? It shrinks your field of view. So when Alan's on the gun, he's gonna shoot this elk. It's 997 yards. So when Alan's behind the gun, he's zoomed in at 20 magnification or 18 or whatever the scope is. So at this point, let's say that the wind was right to left at 3 miles an hour. Alan's gonna have to literally get off of his scope, take his eye off his target. He's gonna have to dial his wind and then go ahead and get back on the scope and try to get back on target. And I guarantee you that little bit moved the rifle. Now he's gonna take about a second or two to get back on the target. So, and let's just say that he's back on the target and the wind changes again. That's a constant battle going back and forth. Now, if we hold the wind, we have stadia lines in our reticles, and that's why we use a minute or mil reticle. And each stadia line is gonna equal a certain amount, in this case, minute of angle, so 1 minute of angle. So Alan will get on the gun, and let's say the wind is 3 miles an hour right to left, so he would hold somewhere around a minute right wind. Let's say the wind changed. All he has to do is then slide his reticle the opposite way or increase it without ever taking his eye off the target. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and have Keith give Alan the wind, and Alan's gonna go ahead and dial it for elevation, what it's supposed to be, and then Keith's gonna tell him what to hold for wind. He's gonna hold his wind. So all right, Keith, go ahead. What's our wind?
All right, we have a left to right. 5 mile an hour angle.
Okay.
At 2.5.
So we're at a left to right wind at 2.5 mile an hour.
Dial at 24 1/4 and hold 2.25 left. 2.25 left.
So he's gonna hold in the stadia lines in the scope 2.25, so 2 1/4 minutes
Cut down to
wind.
2.
Okay, now the wind just changed, so he's gotta cut it down to 2 minutes. Okay guys, whenever you're ready.
Send it. Boom, dead elk. Perfect
Nice shot,
elevation.
997 yards, learning how to hold the wind and read the wind. Elk's down, dinner's in the basket, so good shot, Alan. All right, another downrange shooting tip. from Barbour Creek Long Range Shooting and Hunting School. Thanks for joining us.
Precision Hunting TV is brought to you by Capstone Precision Group, Brooks Barrels, Borden Accuracy, Trigger Tech, Revolution Safe Company, Safari Club International Foundation, and Browning Trail Cameras.
All right, talking about loads and developing loads, there's a lot of techniques that are out there. Remember we talked about those barrel harmonics? As that barrel vibrates, it's called a sine wave, right? So what we're looking for is what's called that accuracy window. So when you fire the bullet by either adjusting your powder charge or your seating depth, and I'll explain that in a minute, it basically allows the bullet to leave at the top of that vibration or in the middle of the vibration. Wind and setup, everything else is calculable. So if you can do a good setup, you're gonna kill it. If you can read the wind, you're gonna kill it. The rangefinder is gonna do everything else for you. Yep, go ahead and do all your data, dial it up. Shoot whatever you want until you get uncomfortable. That's the whole objective of this. Find out kind of where your limitations are shooting off that system. That's why we do this. Good shot, say it again. So you can shoot one at the yoke, go right to the pig, go right to whatever you want. Just keep rolling. Good shot. Just remember what we talked about, range over it, range in front of it, range it. Okay, because you're on a hunt, it's just cost you 15 grand to do this. Perfect elevation, just a little more wind. This is just for you guys to get used to shooting this stuff, and you know, you can practice this more and more because this is kind of realistic for what you do. When ranging with reticle, you've got to understand that basically 600 yards and closer is your safe zone. And the reason I say that, there's a calculation for ranging with reticle. It's the inches of the animal from back to brisket, divided by how many minutes they fit between it, times 100, that's your yards. But there's a ranging error will get worse and worse the further you get out. Why? Because not all elks are 30 inches back to brisket. Not all deer are 18 inches back to brisket, mule deer, right? So, I mean, you get one that's 32 inches or 34 inches, it throws off your yards. You can get away with it under 600. A 20-yard difference at 600 yards is still a kill, but a 20-yard difference at 700 yards can be a miss or a wound. Good shot, Alan. So everything that I've taught them and trained them how to do in long range and reading the mirage and compensate for spin drift, running the ballistic rangefinders, they now have to do on their own. Perfect. Got it.
Smoked him.
Bottom line is, it's just like you're in a hunt with your partner, you're gonna do everything yourself. And I will tell you 9 times out of 10, I read my mirage through my scope. That's why you gotta have that really good glass in your optics. Don't settle for a piece of junk scope out there, and I know you guys won't. If the glass is blurry in the beginning, that glass is useless for you at long range, all right? You're not gonna read any mirage, you're not gonna pick up any detail. You gotta have the best optics you can get in the long range hunting world. Buy once, cry once. That's kind of my philosophy. You know, spend the money. Same thing, that's why I love Swarovski spotting scopes. They're probably one of the best on the market, right? The optics are phenomenal on them, so. Just because your bullet works at 300 yards doesn't mean it's going to create the same wound cavity the farther you get out. When that bullet hits that animal or hits that gel block at a super high velocity, now look at these velocities, 2,788 feet per second. I've got a wound channel of 4.7 inches, so here's the wound channel. But that same bullet, by the time it's out at 2,100 feet per second, look how much it slowed down. Because the bullet doesn't open as fast, it doesn't have as much bearing surface, the bullet will actually penetrate deeper. Hey, James back here for Barbour Creek Long Range Shooting and Hunting School, and I want to talk a little bit about our lodging. So when you pull up, don't be discouraged. This is a 1911 house that's been completely converted on the inside, and we have great food, great lodging. We have each of the bedrooms have their own bathroom inside of it. We have overflow A-frame down on a river. This is a 1,000-acre ranch. Our ranges go to 1,580 yards. We only shoot out to 1188 in the level 1s and 2s. You get inside, we got air-conditioned, heated shoot house, classroom, air-conditioned, heated classroom, air-conditioned, heated lodging. Tony and Felicia really take care of you. Steak dinners, salmon dinners. We've got full course meals, full course breakfast. So again, James at Barbour Creek Long Range Shooting School, thanks for joining us, and then come by and see us. And then if you ever want to come and take a long range shooting hunting course, you can come see us at www.barbourcreek.com or 334-845-0000. Look at us on our Facebook site, and we also have a YouTube channel. Hey, James England, Barbour Creek Long Range Shooting School, thanks for joining us and hope to see you soon.